You need this out the back if you're really going to want around the place.
You've had a plan for this, so
when the Pilgrims got to the New World,
yeah,
they decided they had to put together some kind of a framework.
Why?
Of laws and of government.
Why?
Well, you tell me why.
Because they were fighting. Times got tough, and they started fighting.
So there need to be rules.
Yeah,
and which is human nature. They're always fighting. It's
when times get tough, everyone says, "Follow me." He says, "No, you're the one that got us in this trouble." Well, follow me some more. Yeah. We're almost there.
One of the things that struck me when they said that of the 120, some are on the Mayflower, and I'm sure that back and forth, but they weren't prepared for the winter. And they said mainly the women, like I think 40 women died because they were covering the children. They were actually the houses over the children that were. And so you're thinking, my goodness, here these babies make it, but you got to change their diapers, and you got to, all the conveniences that we take for granted, but these kids still needed to be fed. They needed to be, warm, and but their mothers were gone because the mothers became the house over the child to preserve it. So, where do you see that? I don't, you take a look at the Vatican and Leo up there. What are they missing? Did they not have any background in history? Did they not? Was this what's going on that they can ground themselves in things that are useless and unproductive? At any rate, beyond the Pilgrim story, so that they had a Mayflower Pact, and names such as you're familiar with them, John Carver, Willie Brewster, and
Willie,
Johnny Alden, and William Mullins, and John Craxton, and John Howland.
Well, the Howlands live right down the road.
You remember them, don't you?
No, I don't.
Here's a.
I don't remember any of that, but I do know that I don't know who the principals were. That wasn't my area of expertise in my history classes. So I went more south of the border.
Okay, so they came up with a thing that we now call the Mayflower Compact. In the name of God, amen. We whose names are underwritten, the loyal subjects of our dreaded sovereign Lord, King James.
Our dreaded sovereign Lord.
Yeah, now we're trying to get away from this guy, right? And by the grace of God, of Great Britain, France, and the Ireland King, defender of the faith, etc., it goes. Having undertaken for the glory of God and the advancement of the Christian faith and honor of our King and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia. Do by these presents solemnly and mutually in the presence of God and one another a covenant, and combine ourselves together with a civil body politic. So here again they call out the underpinning of God, and this is the Christian God, to further their desires. And they go from liberty to abundance.
But some people had said before, why did they not write these rules down, these ways that they were going to live before they left? Why did they have some agreement? Well, they had a reasonable agreement. They were going to be, their passion was to get free and be gone and be unburdened by what has been.
Right.
The old Kamala Harris thing.
What's she saying?
The whole thing's, we're going to be unburdened by what has been.
Yeah, that makes all the
We're going
sense
to
in the world,
disconnect from the shit that we did to get us into this trouble. Yeah. We're not going to talk about that anymore. We're just going to talk about forward, the future.
Right.
And this is, I think, where the Catholic Church is. They don't want to own their past. They just want to think about this vibrant, beautiful future that they keep talking about, the same beautiful, vibrant future they've been talking about for 2,000 years. But the only thing that's messed it all up is them.
Right.
Is the administration, is the men.
That's right.
And the women. Nowadays, it's not just the guys alone. You got the feminazis are working.
We mess it up. We mess it up. We're given
trying to be in control, power. We want to have it our way. They think it's Burger King, and you're not going to have it your way.
Right.
This is how it's coming. This
Sure,
is how nature works.
I mean, I've experienced it in the most simplest way, and I've experienced where you're pushed away because of some psychological idea that your brother is a threat, and so all these things about forgiveness and that and the other, it doesn't fly. It's the same old thing: greed, power, control. Mm-hmm. You know, which is, it's not let's get along, let's see what we can do to work this thing out. Where are the problems in the school? You know, let's pull together, you know, stand shoulder to shoulder as Catholic men and women to do what's proper. Forget about that. That's not even in their mind.
Well, no one wants to own the past. They only want to talk about the future. And this is where this disconnect happens with the responsibility factor. And so this is kind of where, but it goes with these steps in here, but it's also towards the end of these 8 steps.
Yeah, we're in
to
trouble.
Where we're in that. So the church as it was 100 years ago is not the church we have today.
No, it isn't. No, it's in the worst. It's worse than the first the temple. It's worse than the temple and those Pharisees, Sadducees, and priests that rejected Christ were worse than that.
Yeah, we had people calling things out 100 years ago, the 1920s, 19-teens, you know, John Knoll and those others.
Well, they were trying to avert it. They were trying to get this thing back, you know.
Right. They were saying then how troubling it was and how problematic it was.
Yeah.
And Our Lady was talking about how problematic it was. She came in 1917 and basically said, hey, you know, you guys got to give up the material stuff, get away from the world.
Absolutely,
you know.
Larry. And this was Pius XII was the Pope between 1939 up until the 60s. Pius XII, he said, I want to be a peacemaker. Our Lord said to consecrate the Blessed Mother's heart to the people of Russia, and this will avert World War II. So you say to Pius XII, you didn't get the memo? You're not going to be the peacemaker, and you didn't do it anyways. You just sat there, and you sat there, and you knew what was going on, and you let it go on. And why?
They were afraid.
They thought Hitler was going to win in the next two months. Well, you can't hedge your bets on Hitler. But they did, see.
Because they joined the government.
They did, see. And Hitler was paying the Catholic Church money.
Well, it was quiet money.
Yeah, and while he was dismantling the Catholic Church, all right?
Yeah, it was a distraction.
You want to have an agreement with Hitler? What are you, out of your mind?
Well, he was doing the same thing, make them dependent on the government through the money and the gifts and things like this and the allowances, and then they take it all away.
Oh, sure.
And Thomas Jefferson warned about that with the development of this country. He was worried about, he says, any government that's big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take it all away.
There you go.
And that's why I say big government is no good.
No.
And these founding fathers knew that because they'd seen it and they'd taken the time to study the past and the problems and the decline of these nations. They were aware of it when they were setting things up for success. Yeah. We're the ones that screwed it all up.
Then you got guys like Hamilton and Hamilton's son.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them got into gun battles.
They should have spent more time at the range.
But this is the kind of balls these people had, all right? Very intellectual and laws and rules and stuff. You pissed them off, though. There's going to be
Right. Well, we're gonna talk about this because this is how they settled things.
These are real men.
Well, they were using what they had at that time, and there was an honor code, but right. Now you got the civil court, and they'll just tie you up for that. It's like I say, there was one guy, he was saying, he says, we're going to sue you for saying that, and I said, you want to be married? He goes, so what do you mean? I said, well, you want to sue me? He said, we're going to be married for about the next 5 years.
Right.
And I said, I'll guarantee you, you're going to hate hearing my name.
Right.
And it'll get to a point I will make you want to vomit when you hear my name.
Did they back off?
Oh, yeah. He says, you think you're all that? I said, no, I'm not that. Right. But the rules of civil litigation will just wear you the hell out.
Sure. You got to come up with your money. Right. And since you were short on cash, you had nothing to lose.
I said, yeah. I said, we will be married for the next 5 years. And I said, you will probably vomit every time you hear my name.
I imagine. Yeah. Okay, from liberty to abundance. Liberty ushers in great prosperity because a civilization is still functioning with the virtues of sacrifice and hard work. Mm-hmm. But then comes the first danger of abundance. Things that are in too great of abundance tend to weigh us down.
Surplus.
And take on a life of their own. And at the same time, the struggles that engender wisdom and steel the soul to a proper discipline and priorities move to the background. Jesus said that man's life does not consist of his possessions. But just try to tell that to people in a culture that starts to experience abundance. Such a culture is living on the fumes of earlier sacrifices. I mean, the guy was brilliant. Its people become less and less willing to make such sacrifices. Ideals diminish in the importance, and the abundance weighs down the souls of the citizens. The sacrifice of discipline, virtues responsible for the thriving of a civilization, are increasingly remote from the collective conscience, and the enjoyment of their fruits becomes the focus. The enjoyment of their fruits becomes the focus.
Isn't this great? Isn't this the best?
Yeah.
Man, we are living it.
How you doing with your discernment, by the way?
My discernment.
Are you discerning anything?
Oh, my 2 years?
Yeah. Was it 2?
That's what they said, but that's...
I know.
They're just trying to make themselves feel better.
Kidding. Yeah, are you enjoying your abundance?
My abundance? Well, I'm enjoying my life. I mean, I'm enjoying living life how I do, and that's, trying to be as natural as possible,
You're not complacent.
I'm buying green beans by the half a bushel and enjoying those.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm living in the season and trying to, put my frozen stuff away for the rest of the year. But
yeah.
I try to eat healthy, and I try where my food comes from, types of things. I won't buy anything in the grocery store typically that's in any of the interior aisles.
Yeah.
If it's not within 15, 20 feet of the outside wall, I usually don't stop down there.
Yeah, the processed foods.
I'll go down through the baked goods aisle and need, flour and sugar, sparingly. But I was looking at my last year total. I think I bought 3 5-pound bags of sugar for the whole year.
Did you?
And it just lasts. I don't use that much sugar.
You got that nice, he made a peach cobbler.
That used some sugar.
That's okay. And then with fresh peaches.
It helps.
Not out of a can.
No,
he did it. I'm looking forward to tasting that. Okay, so we go from abundance, and they warned us in from liberty to abundance, and then the author says we go from abundance to complacency. To be complacent means to be self-satisfied and increasingly unaware of serious trends. Interesting. That undermine our health and our ability to thrive, even in the food that we eat. Everything looks fine, so it must be fine. Yet foundations, resources, infrastructures, and necessary virtues are all crumbling. No prayer in school, no 10 Commandments. As virtues, disciplines, and ideals become even more remote, woke, you can be a boy, you can be a girl, you can be whatever you want, let us know. Those who raise alarms are labeled as killjoys or complacent as killjoys and considered extreme, harsh, and you're being judged.
Oh, you're worrying about too much. It's fine. Oh, so what if the farmers have a drought or whatever this year? It's okay. We'll just go to the grocery store. They got plenty of shit. This is how they think. They think that everything's always going to be on those market shelves. Life is going to continue no matter what happens.
Right.
Their life is not affected.
Right.
They're stupefied idiots.
Right.
Looking at these things, but they've been trained to be this way. And who did that? Our teachers, our politicians, our preachers, have trained people to not stand up and protect these things.
Correct.
It'll be okay. You got to be tolerant. You have to have empathy for these people.
Right.
And tolerance and empathy are great virtues. But what do they lead to in overabundance? When you have too much tolerance and too much empathy, what you end up getting is apathy. And apathy, when you become apathetic to something or to the situation around you, you've already lost.
Yeah. A man who is not willing to defend his children and his grandchildren is not a man.
Mm-mm. And he doesn't have any family because he's basically turned them over by his lack of protection and defense. And so this is why it's important. But we're losing men.
Yeah.
And they've been conditioned out. We since I was born in 1960, and you were about 51.
51.
About,
yeah.
Okay, so in that time, I saw it very directly, and you did too. The suppression of the American male. To sit down, the women's movement and all like that. Men were made to feel guilty about things, and young men growing up, sit down, shut up, we don't need you. You're the problem. These types of things. It's that kind of thinking that got us in the trouble we're in. The women will take care of this, and then the women take care of it. And
there was even a song, remember? Let the woman take care of you.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of, and the other one that's really kind of creepy is I'm your puppet.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of guys out there that are puppets right now. They just don't know where the string is attached. So
I'm sorry.
That's part of the problem. You get her all excited.
I know. She's a good.
She wants in on the
baby.
joke. No, but there's been this complete cultural decline of the American male.
Oof.
And now it's direct. First, they went after the black man. In 1967,
right,
to get him out of the house,
right,
with the Great Society
Terrible.
Project of Johnson.
Terrible.
It was basically dump the man, marry the government. And then they utilized this program to great effect to drive the black man out of the house and the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so when black men were even kind of hanging around to see their kids, the women would come out and say, "What do you want?" "I just want to see my kids."
Right.
Well, you had your chance. They may have failed, but they're still their dad. They're trying to be, but they've been told to your help is not needed. And it's even worse now. Now they're going after the white man. So white men now are basically considered in a lot of talking points from intellectual discussions as being toxic. Something about being a man and having these virtues of trying to stand up and take care of your family are the problem. You're the problem because we don't need your help anymore. Look what happened. Well, look what's happened without the man in the house.
No,
or wait till your father gets home.
What did they say? You destroy the family, and then the society goes with it.
Right.
The family is the basic building block of.
And it took so long to get the institution of marriage going because the institution of marriage really didn't pick up until like 1930.
Right.
Because people were kind of living together and procreating and all these other things was going on. They really weren't the big push for marriage, but the push for marriage came out of the rise up here where we started having this abundance. When the abundance hit, then marriages started to take place more and more. The great American dream, white picket fence, all these things.
Especially after World War II, there was this great,
that was a big push. It's for tract homes and,
the
old
building.
farm fields became, little towns.
Yeah.
10,000 homes had to go up quickly because we had this great rush to get a mate. I remember when my dad came home from the war and I was talking to my mom about it. All the guys are just really like buzzing around the women so much because they all wanted to find a gal because a lot of the good gals got picked up, married off, during the war to the older guys or whatever who was available,
right.
Type of thing. And when the guys came home, there was this big rush to go find a gal, and set up house and get going. And so they were having, 2-month to 6-month courtships before they were getting married. I mean, they were running them through the mill really, really quickly. I mean, it wouldn't be uncommon for somebody to be on their second or third date when the guy would start talking about, you want to get married. This is how pressed they were.
They have a family.
Well,
they have a life, yeah.
And to try to get a cute gal before all that was left was the
other ones.
The surplus.
Well,
But this is how it was.
Well, God willing, you get she's good looking, obviously, but an attraction certainly. But really, the capacity for a woman to be a good mother, to raise her family, to be virtuous, is really the stability of the family. I mean, the mother brings that stability.
But they were kind of expecting that was going to be in there. There was this expectation and obligations that was going on. The man was sitting there saying, I'm expected to go out and have a job and provide.
Right.
The woman said, I'm expected to have sex with this man and have babies.
Right.
Yeah. And they didn't always love them, but they thought it was a pretty good choice.
Right.
So it's going to work for me. So there was a lot of this going on. You want to hear stories of how it used to be, talk to an older person and ask them how they handled life at the dime dances. And that used to be a thing where they would have these big dance halls or clubs or whatever, and the people would show up from all over. They'd bring in a great band. You don't have the dancing out there. But if you wanted to go on the dance floor, it cost you 10 cents.
Oh, really?
So that's why they called them dime dances.
10 cents.
It cost you 10 cents to go on the dance floor to dance. So you could go and hang out at the dance hall and wait for your song to come on, go pay your 10 cents, go out and dance. And my mom was saying that one of the things about the dime dances is that the band always gave the guy 2 dips at the end of the song because they'd always want to dip the gal. That was that moment of trust, but they'd always give him 2 dips. So there'd be like 2, there'd be a fake ending and then another reprise. And they'd come back and do it again so the guy could dip the girl twice.
And that was to his advantage in the dance?
Yeah, it was like they knew that the end was coming, so he better make his move pretty quick because he's going to be dipping her again, and then she's going to.
He's going to give it to her real good.
He's going to give her a good dip.
It was Roseanne Barr.
She's going to get a good dip in there. So.
I'm going to get it real good, she said. Roseanne. I think she's turned around, but
I don't know what she had to say on it, but it was just interesting to see how
dime dance.
The dime dances. It was a big thing, and but that was how people went. It was just a lot of revelations that she shared with me about how life used to be. That there's huge misconceptions. And she says, "No, we never did any of that."
Right.
Like veils in church.
Right.
Women wearing veils.
Yeah.
When do you think that started?
Well, I just remember my mother wearing a kerchief or a veil over her head, and. You see a little bit with the younger kids in the Hispanic.
When do you think it started?
I have no idea.
Well, it didn't start till after World War II.
Was that right?
Because they didn't have the machines to make them. It had to be a hand-knit lace if they were going to be wearing one. But she says most women didn't wear veils. It was very uncommon to see until after World War II in 1950.
So who introduced it? Was it the church?
It was the factories. Were able to start making these things. They had the machines that could make these things. So they probably took something that was maybe machines that could have been making, I don't know, parachute, silks and things like that.
So it was an economic introduction?
Well, it was machinery came along and was allowing lace to be made and things like that because it was used to be a hand-tooled item. Then the machines could start making them. Then they became affordable. But up until that time, women didn't wear veils.
Yeah.
They wore a hat.
That may be true. I remember the Italians, like my grandmother, and I don't know if this is particular to the Italian Catholic culture, as opposed to a hat or as opposed to some kind of a doily, But the only thing I remember is that it was a way of showing reverence. Or modesty.
Yeah,
or
but
closure.
the covering.
Right.
But the ladies wore a hat. My mother wore a sock hat for many years.
Did she?
Yeah. She looked like Mike Nesmith from the Monkees, wearing a sock hat, all day long. Or basically any, yuppie out there today wearing a hat. But that was what she had. And she says it was actually, hers was like a giveaway from a store promotion or something. And it had one of those floppy balls on it like they have. I don't know what that was for,
right.
But for a knit hat to have that
your
floppy
mother
ball
said, right, she used to wear.
That was what she wore to go to communion.
Yeah.
Or go to Mass.
So from complacency to apathy, and we're warned about abundance and and leading into some aspect of complacency, but from complacency to apathy. The word apathy comes from the Greek and refers to a lack of interest in or passion for the things that once animated and inspired. Due to the complacency of a previous stage, the growing lack of attention to disturbing trends advances the outright dismissal. Many seldom think or care about the sacrifices of previous generations, oh my God, and lose a sense that they must work for and contribute to the common good. Civilization suffers from serious by personalization and privatization in growing degrees. Working and sacrificing for others becomes more remote. Growing numbers become increasingly willing to live on the carcass of previous sacrifices. They park on someone else's dime, but it will not fill the parking meter themselves. Hard work and self-discipline continue to erode.
And at the same time now, they've added another element into it, is that they want to blame their forefathers who made them successful for their situation now because it's all their freaking fault.
So it's really perverted.
Yeah. Well, this is another way for them to not have to accept any responsibility for where they're at now. They just blame their forefathers for it.
So they're like, what do they call it? They feel like this is a given. They deserve to have.
Sure.
And if there's any problems, you're going to blame the generation that actually brought you to.
The whole reparations thing, all these people crying for reparations, and they would talk about how the black man's been suppressed. I got news for you, folks. The word slave and what it means to be a slave came from a Slavic term. So the Slavs were the original slaves. They weren't black. They were very white and probably pretty hairy and probably pretty ignorant about things, not well schooled. But they were the first one. They weren't champions of war, so they became enslaved.
Right. That's right. Normally, the victor brought with them the slave population to work on their behalf.
Well, they didn't want to kill them all because they can use these folks. Somebody's got to keep making bread, growing the grain.
So the United States moved very quickly from the old 1800s and working the farms to an industrial revolution of enormous amounts of goods and services.
The great big bang of technology happened in the United States because there was this interested group of people who were in the midst of these 8 steps. Okay, so at that time, this conjunction of the natural order of the 8 steps, along with the development of technology, hit this like perfect storm.
So
you had these motivated people.
Explosion that I mean.
Because there were still people that had high regard for their forefathers, and then Lincoln was there, and Lincoln was still talking about the forefathers, 7 years ago.
Right.
Our forefathers. He's giving laud to them at that time.
Right.
So this sort of mentality that was going on met up with this technological surge. Eli Whitney's, of the world, were all coming together at this time with this interested development.
Right.
And that's what created this huge uptick in the industrial age in this country.